Welcome back to the Movie Man. Today I will show you a 2006 action fantasy film, Eragon. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. A dragon is flying peacefully across the sky, but suddenly it is attacked and a full-blown dragon war begins. A dragon rider called Galbotrix had started a war, killed all the dragons and their riders, and became the sole ruler of the kingdom of Alexisia. A young lady called Aria rides for her life after stealing a stone from this brutal king. She is being followed closely from behind by Drissa, the king's highest-ranked mercenary, and his men. He jumps, knocks Aria from her horse, and she rolls down a cliff. Drissa uses dark magic and makes a fire that surrounds and corners Aria. He walks right through the fire and demands the stone, but Aria lifts the stone and it vanishes into thin air and she falls. On the other side, a young boy called Eragon is hunting in the forest nearby. As he is aiming for a gazelle, a bright light flashes, and the stone falls on the ground. He slowly and carefully approaches the strange stone and picks it up. The next day, Eragon walks into the village where the king's soldiers are terrorizing the poor citizens. He walks into a butchery in an attempt to trade the stone for some meat, but when the butcher sees the stone he is filled with fear and does not want anything to do with it, so he sends Eragon away. That night, as Eragon is resting, the stone begins to shake and crack. It smashes open and a small dragon hatched. Eragon had confused it for a stone, but it was an egg, a dragon egg. He stretches his arm and touches it immediately. Aria, who is now in the prison of Drissa, sends it and knew the egg had hatched. Through his dark powers, Drissa can see where and who had the dragon. When Eragon opens his hand, he sees a spiral burn mark, a mark of the bond between him and the dragon as a symbol of a dragon rider. He tried to feed her milk, but she did not drink it. Instead, she jumped behind the haystacks and swallowed a rat hole. The king, the Galbotrix, summoned Drissa to his chambers and orders him to get and kill the young boy. His news of a dragon rider would encourage more rebellion against his rule, especially from the resistance group called the Varden. Drissa uses his dark magic to summon dark soldiers and he commands them to find and kill Eragon. The dragon rider Eragon goes to the village market where he finds the villagers crying as their sons had been taken to join the king's army against their will and they never returned. A drunk man called Brahm had heard enough. He starts telling a story of a time when the dragon and dragon riders ruled peacefully until Galbotrix betrayed them and killed them to keep all the power. The king's soldiers quickly quiet him and send him away, and Eragon has left there with a lot of unanswered questions. The next day, Eragon takes his dragon to the field to teach it how to fly. He threw her in the air and she took off. She flies higher and higher until she was out of his sight. Suddenly the spiral on his hand begins to glow. At the same time, the dragon grew bigger, and when she landed back, she was an adult-sized dragon. In addition, it was able to communicate with him telepathically. Later that night, Eragon goes to see Brahm as he wants to know more about dragons. Brahm does not like this visit. He is fearful that the king's soldiers would hear them, so he sends Eragon away immediately. Eragon walks out of his house, but on his way home something felt strange. Drissa's dark assassins had arrived and were in the butcher's shop torturing him to give up Eragon's location. Eragon understood that their next destination would be his home, so he ran as fast as possible as he knew his uncle's life was in danger. Out of nowhere the dragon flies down and scoops him up and flies away with him. Eragon begs the dragon to put him down, but she refuses as he would get killed. He slips, but she catches his leg with her claws. He climbs back up to her back but slips again. Luckily this time he holds onto her tail. After struggling to hold on, the dragon flies down and drops him on a pile of haystacks. When he arrived at his house, it was too late. His uncle's lifeless body was lying on the ground. Eragon could not believe it. He turns his attention towards the dragon and blames her for his death as she delayed his arrival to help his uncle, and angrily he chases her away and the dragon flies off. The poor boy becomes emotional to a point that he sheds tears. Brahm arrives at the door and drags Eragon out. He throws him on a horse and they both drive off from the place. Eragon could only watch as his home burns to the ground with his uncle inside. They ride off as far as possible but finally stop to take a short rest. Brahm was taking Eragon to the Varden as that was the only place he could be safe from his assassins. He tells Eragon to call his dragon, and when he does, She immediately flies down from the clouds as she never left him. She only kept a small distance between them to make sure Uragan was safe. On the other hand, Drza appears in front of his soldiers. He instructs them to track down Uragan and bring his head to him before disappearing. The dark assassin spots the dragon flying just above Uragan and locates his exact location. The two ride on until they come across a village on the riverbank. They leave their horses behind and enter to take a rest for the night as they were very tired. Deep in the night as Uragan was moving around, he was attacked by Drza's men who had caught up. They tried to escape the village using a bridge but more men attacked them. Brom tried to fight them but they were greatly outnumbered. Uragan picks an arrow from the ground and shoots it with a magic spell. It hits them and blows up, throwing them into the water. As a result, Uragan becomes weak and loses consciousness. When he woke up, he had a strong headache as Uragan had used magic to help them escape. Magic comes from dragons but flows through the riders who command them. Brom warns him to use magic as his last weapon as it has rules and limitations. Some magic spells would weaken him and leave him unconscious but other more powerful spells could kill him. Brom knew that the journey ahead would be more dangerous so Uragan had to fly. Suddenly the dragon appears from the cliff and lands. Brom had arranged for a saddle to help Uragan ride more comfortably. He climbs on it and the dragon drops from the cliff. They ride through the river valley as Uragan learns how to control her. The two glides through the skies and Brom follows closely from behind on his horse. Uragan learns a new trick. His eyes turned blue and he could see what the dragon was seeing through her eyes. Like and subscribe may look simple for you, but for us it's very valuable. Please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon for the latest notifications. Thank you for your support. Down below the dark assassins caught up with Brom. When Uragan zooms in he sees them chasing behind Brom to attack. He directs his dragon through a small opening and they go after them. One of them jumps and knocks Uragan off and his dragon hits a tree, tumbling and falling. Luckily Brom jumps in to defend them. After a small fight he knocks one into the ground and stabs him with his sword and the dark assassin melts into the ground. The dragon's wing had been injured in the process so Brom applied herbs for quick recovery. He was not happy with Uragan as what he had done was too risky and he endangered the life of his dragon. It turns out Ram was also a dragon rider but his dragon died. On the other hand, Drza is getting tired of their failure. He kills his commander on the spot when they returned without the boy. Now he uses a different trick. He uses dark magic to infect Arya and appears in Uragan's dream as her. He requests him to come and save her as Drza held her as a prisoner. The next morning against Brom's advice, Uragan climbs on his dragon and rides off to save Arya. He arrives at Gilead where Arya was a prisoner. He waits for nightfall and enters the palace. He goes straight to where Arya was being held but Arya was not happy to see him. Drza's plan had worked perfectly and effortlessly. Uragan had taken the bait and delivered himself to him. A full-blown fight begins between the two. Drza throws a spear towards Uragan but Brom jumps on its path taking the hit. Angrily Uragan shoots Drza in the head and he disappears into thin air. As the three try to escape, Drza's soldiers surround them. The dragon drops in through the roof and fights off the soldiers. Uragan is also helped by a young man on the roof. They get on the dragon's back and fly off from the prison. Brom's injuries were severe and he was slowly but surely dying. Uragan tries to use magic but his efforts were useless. The only thing they could do was to let him die with pride as a dragon rider. So he takes one last ride on a dragon and passes away. They bury his body on a hill and the dragon turns his burial stone to glass for remembrance. Drza activates the poison he had injected Arya. She falls to the ground. Now more than ever they needed to get to the Varden. The young man who helped them earlier appears and offers to help guide them. The two rides on their horses as the dragon carries the sick Arya. After a long ride, they finally arrive at a waterfall. The secret entrance of the Varden hiding place. They quickly jumped into the water as Drza's men caught up. They swim below the waterfall and when they reach the other side, they are welcomed. On the other side, King Galbotrix summoned Drza. He was extremely unhappy that he was unable to complete the task given but at the same time he was happy as now he knew the hiding place of the Varden. He has given new instructions to gather the entire king's army and go after them and to leave no one alive. Dragon meets with the leader of Varden. He asks for help as Arya was slowly dying. He calls the dragon and it flies in through the water and lands inside. Arya was still alive but very weak. Trissa and his men arrive outside the Varden's hiding place. They are into the thousands and greatly outnumbered the Varden. Suddenly the walls are knocked to the ground and Galbetrix's army runs inside and charges toward the Varden and a full-blown war begins. Dragon and his dragon are dressed in full armor ready to fight. They fly and join the fight, blasting the enemy with fire. The Varden fight hard but unfortunately, more soldiers arrive and Dragon blasts them with fire from above. When Trissa sees this, he uses dark magic and a smoke dragon appears from the fires. He blasts the Varden and challenges Dragon. Dragon's dragon tries to blast its head off but the demon dragon feels nothing. The two dragons collide and start to fight. In the process, Dragon's dragon takes a bite of its neck. This weakens her a lot as she loses strength. Trissa shoots her ball of fire but Dragon jumps from its tail and stabs Trissa in the chest. He bursts into flames and disintegrates to nothing. As Dragon was falling full speed to his death, the dragon caught him and they both fell to the ground. The dragon got seriously injured during the fight. Dragon tries to use magic to heal its wound but he falls and loses consciousness and the two fall there on the floor both unconscious. When he woke up, they had won the war. The dragon flies in and she was healed. Dragon flies away to meet Arya and plan to fight next with King Galbetrix. That was all of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.